Hi everyone, episode 22 of Fertility Empowerment Show, another empowered day. And I'm so happy to have Stacy Moore here. She is a coach and she's doing amazing job. She's also mindset and nutrition and fitness coach. And we are going to talk about overcoming PCOS and fertility issues because this is a great example, guys, and she already gone through this for herself and she knows how she can help you to this. All right, welcome to my show, Stacy.
Thank you so much, Fanti. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So tell me about your story. How did you overcome PCOS and what did you bring you to help others in this issue?
Well, I gave you my background story, so I'll go through a little bit about the issues and the struggles that I did face in my fertility journey. So back when I was younger, I was an athlete. I've been an athlete my whole life. So trained 6 days a week. I was running. I did a lot of high intensity training for track and field. I also competed in basketball. So when you're putting your body through that rigorous training and the pacing and all of those things, as a female, of course, sometimes it can be difficult to become regular, to have those menstrual cycles that are going to be on track. And so when I was younger in that phase, I'd been a gymnast prior to that as well. So I was very lean. I would go to the doctors and my mom was, kind of concerned. Why wasn't I regular? What was happening with my body? My dad was a physical educator and, I think he kind of had an understanding and awareness, but the doctors would often say, well, she doesn't have a lot of body fat. And so over time, as things change, perhaps that might take place. But right now, the irregularity, it's not a big deal because she is training at such a high level that probably explains why that's not taking place on a consistent basis. So from there, I just assumed once I wasn't training as much, as I left university, I started coaching in sport and I was a teacher. And I just figured, eventually things would normalize. I did use the birth control pill, during that phase in my 20s and just assumed, there was regularity with that. So I assumed when I went off of it and I wanted to get pregnant that I was healthy and I was young and I'd been fit. So it would be an easy journey. And I think many women go into that phase of their life thinking, well, I have a plan and this is the way it's going to work. And hopefully it's step by step by step. And then all of a sudden, you're pregnant. And unfortunately, that wasn't the way that things worked out for me. I, did go off the birth control pill when, of course, I wanted to start thinking about having a family. And my husband and I, we went through about a year of not being pregnant. My period was a little bit more regular at that point. I had put on some body fat, obviously, at that point. I wasn't training at the high level of intensity anymore, but I just hoped that everything would work. And after time and trying, I did have to go and seek a fertility specialist. So I went to a doctor. And I had no idea why I hadn't been regular most of my life. I just thought that was the way things were with me. And he diagnosed me with polycystic ovarian syndrome with an ultrasound. He showed me on the screen these little black dots hanging out inside of my body and said, you have multiple cysts that are there. And what that means is, of course, that when the follicle is there and the egg is supposed to be released, unfortunately, the body doesn't go through that process of releasing the egg. And so you end up with cysts in your ovaries. And it's kind of like the eggs are in there having a party, but they're not coming down so that you can actually get pregnant. It's kind of an oversimplified way of describing what's happening. So then he went on to tell me that, of course, polycystic ovarian syndrome also means that there's an insulin resistance and your body's not processing the insulin in the proper way. And as I was in my 20s and looking to get pregnant, I was in my late 20s. So I got married at 29. I was looking to have my first baby in my early 30s. And, your body goes through different changes. So when I was looking at that, I had put on a little bit of weight. I wasn't as active as I had been in the past. I was quite stressed. I had a very demanding job. I was very, very focused on my job and my career. And, I didn't realize that I wasn't dealing with my stress and my inflammation. I probably wasn't feeding my body the greatest nutrition, even though that's what I do for a living now. And as a woman and then eventually a mom, I think many of your listeners would probably resonate with this, that we often take care of ourselves last. And when you're trying to get pregnant, you really need to be taking care of yourself first. And then even when you are a mother, I think that's really vital on the journey, because you have to invest in yourself. You have to have that energy. You want to be fueled, all of those different components. So I did go through that path. I understood all of a sudden that, I had some issues with insulin. I then, of course, realized as well as I was struggling, and, every month I'd get that pregnancy test and I'd be really hopeful that there would be a positive sign on, and it often didn't come. And there were the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs in wondering, when's it going to happen? And you get very excited. And then you also have the lows when you're let down that it didn't work that time and you're not pregnant and you're very hopeful. So going
Can
through all
I
that.
interrupt you
Go
for
ahead.
a
Yes,
minute?
go ahead.
You actually pointed to very important thing that I
Mhm.
don't want to miss it right now.
Sure.
One of them, you said you've been very active, and this is one of the thing that my clients even complain about it. They said we are very healthy, very active, but that's the point, because I was a regular swimmer. I
Mm-hmm.
was very active, very healthy, but I had problem with my fertility.
Yes.
And it's good to have exercise, but too much exercise again, you will you will be burned out. And yeah,
Yes.
and then second thing you said, uh, you are talking about work related issue.
Yes.
That's another problem some of my clients have.
Mm-hmm.
You can't believe it how many of them just change their job, or they go lower on their job a bit
Mm-hmm.
lower load,
Mm-hmm.
and then great, they got pregnant.
Yeah.
These two things that you already talk about it are two very important issues. Even if you are very healthy,
Yeah.
you feel healthy, but too much workout and too much exercise is not really good for your body.
Well,
Yes,
yes. I mean, I think it depends on the type of exercise that you're doing. The level of intensity that I was working under when I described, those issues that I was having as far as perhaps not having enough body fat or that intense amount of activity, it is going to impact your cycle. It can, right? If it's at that very high level of intensity. I think for people, being active and moving is something that I would suggest that you're doing, but it is a matter of listening to your body, of understanding the types of things that are going to
exactly.
help you, and also moving. You want to move your body every day.
Exactly. You have to exercise. I love swimming and I love exercise,
Mhm.
but you shouldn't overload your body. When you feel that sometimes you feel that if you exercise too much, is good for your body. But
Well,
this
yes.
is the problem many athletes have,
Yes.
because they have to overload this exercise to win, to be a
Mhm.
champion. And
Mhm.
during my high school, I was a champion all the time.
Mhm.
All I was runner. I was doing the ping pong. Too many exercise. I love that, but when you want to have plan for
Mhm.
your pregnancy, I guess you have to first talk to your doctor.
Mhm.
That's so important. And don't do, like, I used to do swimming 25 meters swimming for each lap, I used to do like 100 laps or 80 laps. This is for pregnancy or getting pregnant. It's too much.
Right. Mhm.
Yes.
Well, I think what you're talking about there is different levels of stress on your body, right? So if you're training a very high intensity within, whether it would be swimming or for my instance, it was track and field, gymnastics, all of those types of things. Athletes put their body through oxidative stress, and your body goes through repair and recovery and growth and different phases when you're in that training mode. So it is going to impact your hormone level. It's going to impact your ability to have that menstrual cycle as a female, and it's also putting stress on your body. So I think, yes, if you're getting into a point where you're looking at your fertility and you're looking at the training that you're doing, or you're also really wanting to have that next phase, we are like such a miracle as women because we have the ability to carry a baby, to reproduce. But you do need to have a certain amount of body fat in order for that to happen. And you're going to grow, a living being in your body. So I think it's listening to your body. It's knowing that, as I mentioned, movement is important. Everyone does need to move every day, but maybe it's going to be a little gentler when you're going through those phases. I did continue to do some working out when I was pregnant. I know many people who have continued to run and to do those different things. But again, as you mentioned, I think it's important to be monitored by a physician and make sure that what you're doing is healthy, safe. Obviously, things are going to change with the load on your body as well. So, as you become pregnant, even, you want to be thinking about that different perspective if you're going to continue to train. But while you're working to get pregnant, I think just really working to be in that healthy, vibrant, energized state and
Exactly.
dealing with your stress is important, because you mentioned work stress as well. And the stress maybe of training, but there's also the stress that we undergo on a daily basis. And unfortunately, I do a lot of corporate wellness training. I talk with a lot of people around stress, and the fight or flight mechanism was there. So if we were faced with a lion or a tiger or a bear or something, we would be able to fight or flee, hopefully not freeze, but we have that response in our bodies. And in today's world, with work demands and being connected all of the time and the perspective on life in general and what's happening in the world right now, there's a lot of stresses. And that fight or flight mechanism is constantly on alert in our bodies. And that can lead to issues when you're trying to get pregnant if you're very stressed. That cortisol, the impact on your hormones, all of those things can have an impact on your ability to get pregnant. So managing your stress and coming up with practices and techniques for that, which of course we can talk about, that's really vital as well, I believe.
So we come back in few seconds.
Okay.
Please subscribe to Panta Calhoun Transition channel and order my book Naturally Conceived through Amazon. Thank you for watching. All right, we continue now with the Stacy Moore. All right, what did you do after you find out that you're PCOS? What kind of diet or what kind of medication did you take?
Well, I had to go through at that point a series of taking medications in order to conceive and be pregnant. So this was back, of course, my first daughter was born in 2007. My second daughter was born in 2009. So prior to 2007, at that point in time, the specialists were looking at using a couple of different options for medications. I'm not a massive believer in taking a lot of medications. I use a lot of nutritional remedies, more natural approaches to my health and well-being at this phase. But when I was back then, that was what I knew, and that was what I, was seeking. I wanted that support, and I didn't have the wherewithal, I don't think, or the personal growth, the development, and the knowledge to be able to maybe conceive in a more natural method. So I did go through a course of metformin, which is a diabetic medication, because I had that insulin resistance. As I was mentioning as well, the more that I talked about this, I also learned that this can be genetic. Okay, polycystic ovarian syndrome can be genetic. And the more that, it's not something that a lot of times you would talk openly about, especially not back then. I'm really trying to get pregnant and this is what I'm going through. And sometimes you keep that to yourself. And I did start to open up, and I found out that members of my family in my genetic line had the same issues. And I kind of realized then, oh, I've been struggling and kind of on my own. And I didn't realize that on my mom's side of the family, that was something that kind of ran through our genetic lines, and that some of my relatives did have challenges in trying to conceive as well. So I think getting that sort of thing out in the open is also important. But I was posed with the, challenge of taking those medications. When I was on metformin, I didn't feel very great. It does give a lot of, upset stomach, and there's different, side effects, I suppose, to that. But when you're in that phase, you're like, well, if I don't feel so great, but it works, I guess I just go with it and hope that things work out. And so I was put on that for a series of a few months. The first couple of months, I didn't have that positive pregnancy test. Then on the third month, I was given, kind of the option that if the course didn't run and didn't work, that I would be facing taking Clomid, which is a fertility medication that makes you release eggs. So when you're going through that whole idea of polycystic ovarian syndrome and the follicles not ripening, the eggs aren't coming forth. When you take a medication like Clomid, it can release multiple eggs at a time, and they can, of course, then be, impregnated with a sperm, and all of a sudden you could have multiple kids when you're on that medication. So that was something I was a little concerned about. I wasn't sure with my first pregnancy if I was ready, but I'm sure I would have figured it out. It's a wonderful opportunity if that was the way that it worked out. But fortunately, the metformin did work on the first round, and I didn't have to take the Clomid. I was pregnant, and I went through a healthy pregnancy. I did have to speak with a nutritionist at that point. I did have borderline gestational diabetes. It never came to that point, but with the insulin resistance, my sugars were a little high. So I had to be mindful of that, keep my body moving, all of those different types of things during my pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. And did you have the same issue for your second pregnancy?
So it was interesting because I mentioned that was 2007. And then when we fast forwarded to 2009, I just assumed that it would probably be smart to go back to the same doctor and just check in because, I thought I had those issues, so it might be a good idea to go back and see what was the case. And so I did go back through a series of, appointments and those types of things. And at that point, they'd actually changed the protocol. So now they were using Clomid first, and then they were using metformin as a secondary resort. So I once again went through a course of a few months of having the Clomid, and fingers crossed that when I had, if I conceived, that I had one and maybe not multiple babies. But it was kind of at that end phase where I'd taken the Clomid for a series of time. Then it was going to be, if this doesn't work, we'll try the metformin. And I guess my body responds to that type of threat, or this might be the case. And so I was able to conceive on the Clomid, and I can still remember the ultrasound appointment where the doctor was there and said, all right, well, let's have a look at what's going on here and make sure that there's just one baby and there are not many, many babies. So there was just one, and I'm blessed with my two daughters, Eiley and Henry, who are now almost 14 and almost 12.
Perfect. That's great. Mm-hmm. So why did you end up to be a fitness coach? And you do a lot. You do nutrition, fitness, and mindset coaching. I know 3 of them is really important for somebody who's going to be a pregnant mom.
Yes.
Because you have to take care of your diet and have a great lifestyle. And it's not just with diet and movement. You should have a right mindset.
Yes, absolutely. So I went through a little bit of a journey, actually. I, of course, had my 2 girls, and I was working. So I had my year off on my maternity leave. And then I went back to that job. I went back to the environment where a lot of my work defined me. I was very focused in on being a teacher. I have 3 university degrees. I really kind of had my blinders on of, I want to be a working mom. I want to be a career mom. I love to do what I do. I love to teach. I love to coach. But I also was in a place where it very much did define me, but I also was paying someone else kind of to raise my children because they were dropped off at before and after childcare while I was at work. I would leave early in the morning. My husband was, working in Toronto. We live in Peterborough, so that was a commute for him. He was on the road for work. So, we became parents, and then very quickly we're working to give a lifestyle and a financial platform for our children to be able to be successful while we continued on with our careers. And when my daughter was 6, so my eldest daughter was 6, she actually wrote me a letter that said, "When are you going to be my mom again?" And that kind of,
That's
kind
so sweet.
it
And
really
it's, yeah, it
hit me.
makes you upset. Why? So you feel guilty because you
Mhm.
couldn't dedicate more time for her.
Yes, and she had the wherewithal to put that together and understand that mommy was working a lot, and so was daddy, and she was at childcare during those times, and so it really kind of made me wake up, I guess, in some ways, to understand that, I kind of talked about that whole perception of taking care of yourself. And if you don't do that, I was going down a path. I was a physical educator. I was running ragged. I thought I had my cape of invincibility on and I could do everything and I could be this mom and I could coach and I could be on a bus coaching basketball and track meets and come home at all hours of the night. I became a fitness instructor because I kind of was looking at myself at this point after having 2 kids, wanting to lose the weight after having kids. And I figured, how do I know how to do that? And I'd always had practice, I'd always had that training aspect in my life. So I became a fitness professional and I just added more onto my plate. More stress, more movement, more things, that I was trying to juggle. So I often would be up at 5 in the morning, driving to the gym, teaching a class at 6 a.m. I would grab food on the run and often, add a bit of a drive through, thinking that I knew everything about health and nutrition with my background, but not fueling my body the right way. And then I would go teach all day and then I would coach all night and not be with my kids. But I was trying to find a way to be strong and vibrant and fit myself. So I did work at that point in the fitness space to, get myself back to a place where I felt confident, where I felt good, I was strong, I was leaning up, I lost weight. This was great. But there was still something missing. And I still was running ragged. I still didn't have the opportunities to be with my kids. And so fortunately, 9.5 years ago, I was introduced to a nutritional system that I've been using and I'm partnered with as a brand partner in nutrition. And I put that into my body and all of a sudden opened up a whole bunch of doors. I was fueled nutritionally. I was nourished. I was dealing with my stress. I had the fuel in order to perform at my maximum, not only in my fitness, but also in my work. And then a whole host of personal growth and development came along with that. And so I really started to work on my mindset, on what was important in my life, on balancing, the different perspectives and spending more present time with my girls. And I wanted to be the mom that was going to be able to be at their soccer games and their hockey games and seeing them in their speeches at school and winning awards at school. But I was missing all of those things. And so I found a pathway developing actually in a network marketing business with a company called Isogenics. And I linked arms. I kind of jumped right in after being quite a negative Nelly for quite some time as far as understanding that whole piece of nutrition and nourishment. And I just went on a path of learning and learning from amazing people like Tony Robbins and Brennan Burchard and Jack Canfield and Lisa Nichols, thought leaders in that whole world. And I really just kind of opened up doors and opened up the realm of possibility for what could be in my life. And as a result, 6.5 years ago, I left my teaching career. I've now grown a large organization And then that's led me to have my own radio show, to really develop my own brand of Fly Girls Inc. and empowering women to first love themselves or be fly girls, and taking that time to be empowered to fly in the facets of focus, fitness, fuel, family, and fun.
Beautiful. So this is after pregnancy, after having kids.
Yes, this is after having
We're going to talk about before
Mhm.
pregnancy, because people are struggling to
Mhm.
conceive. What is your recommendation? If you get back with your experience right now, if you get back to your past, what did you change? Or what do you recommend to my audience to change to get pregnant easily?
So I will say that, since my journey, and even looking at, I'm now 45, so I will reveal my age. I'm 45, and I can say now, looking back at where I was, I had my first baby just as I turned 31. And so looking back at what I know now and wishing perhaps that I was in that state then, it really is a matter of finding balance in your body. And now at the age of 45, I can proudly say that my cycle is regular. This is called overcoming PCOS, right? So I'm not sure. I haven't gone back to have an ultrasound because I'm not looking to get pregnant anymore. But I do know that every month I have consistency and I'm regular. And I do believe that that is because of the fact that I found nourishment, I found balance, I found perspective, and really the nutrition, the movement piece, building in that foundation of wellness is what's allowed me to thrive now. And I don't know, if I tried to get pregnant now, I think I'd probably be okay. But my advice to those who are in that state is to just really look at your perception of the world, right? Perception, my dad taught me that perception makes the world go around. And there are a lot of things right now that can be stressful in your life. We can also go down the path of negativity. And I've learned over time through all of my personal growth and development that what you focus on, you find, and what you focus on grows. And so if you're constantly in that cycle when you're trying to get pregnant, and every time you're hoping and wishing and praying that it's going to happen, if you constantly have that perspective of, I'm never going to get pregnant, this is never going to work, I'm so frustrated, the more that you're focused on those types of thoughts, you're going to get more of that in your life. Pantia, we've heard stories all the time where women undergo IVF and
Yes.
they spend, tens of thousands of dollars, and they're so stressed because money is a big, like, financial stress is so big in people's lives.
Yes.
And we hear about it, right? They go through all of these different phases. One of my really close friends went through, I believe it was 3 rounds of IVF. And, she just had her second baby. And, we're partnered together in really helping her with nutrition and balance and all of those things. But she wasn't focused and stressed on that outcome. And you hear that all the time, that that's what happens. As soon as you kind of like, okay, maybe I give up on that, or maybe that's not the path, all of a sudden the stress kind of lifts and people get pregnant, right? So I really believe that your mindset is quite vital in this, and that you want to be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking and what you're projecting out into the world. And even, just thinking about your body as that vessel of energy and light and positivity, and that you are so strong and so capable, and you're nourishing your body and you're moving your body. You have that mindset of, I'm going to be the best mom and I'm going to carry this baby and it's going to be wonderful. That's a very different energy than what I described before, where you're negative and you're frustrated and it's just not working. Your whole body tenses up when you have that type of energy. So I believe that mindset piece, as well as the nutrition and fitness, it all works together. And I also believe it's a matter of having a community of support around you that you can lean on, that you can talk to, other women that you can share in those struggles or challenges with. I believe all of those things are going to really help with your people and your audience to be able to be successful.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you actually refer to a really great point. Because visualization is the big key, and you cannot visualize the great outcome, but you have something exactly different.
Mhm.
Completely different with what you visualize. You
Yeah,
cannot say, I'm going to be a mom and then put a lot of investment on it, but then in your heart, you feel that you don't deserve it.
right.
These are not really aligned together.
Mhm. Yes. Mhm.
Yes. So, Stacy, do you think support, how much is the, um, how much support and positive environment helped you?
Mhm. Well, I used a doula. That was important to me when I was going through my first pregnancy because I didn't know anything. I mean, I had taught sex ed and, I was all about giving my students, the background and the knowledge and all these things. But then when you go through it yourself, you can read or listen and learn all you want. It can sometimes be a very different experience when you're undergoing that whole process with your body for the first time. And so I did lean on, of course, our family members, friends, talking with other women who were going through things at the same time, having that network of support, both when, I was trying to get pregnant as well as when I was pregnant and even after. You want to be surrounded by other women, I think, who are going through those same types of things that you might be, and to be able to ask questions, to be able to share, as I mentioned, in those challenges or struggles, but also to be able to have that positivity and that vision for one another. And you kind of get invested in each other's excitements and hopes and dreams. And, I can remember having other friends who were trying to conceive at the same time, and some had challenges and some had losses. And, we wanted to be there to help and support through those ups and downs. And it's
Yeah.
really, I think the support network is vital. And
Yes.
that's why I chose to have a doula in the room with me as well, because I had no idea what it was going to feel like to have to go through labor and my labor of my first, I don't know if you want to go down that path, but I had a full on plan for what was going to happen with my birth of my daughter Eiley, and none of it happened. It was just totally sideways. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like, yeah, there are lots of Facebook support group, and people actually share their pictures. They have their babies, even if they are over 40. Um, Actually, it really helped me because I see a lot of real examples, and I see, oh, that's gonna happen to me as well. So it's great to be supported and to have positive vision, because you see something in reality happen to someone else, then you feel excited. And I mean, I was like that. I always think that if other people are happy, it multiplies your happiness as well, because the world should be harmonized. So happiness of others make me happy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I see here you have the website at Stacy Moore, feet.feet, Fly
Yeah.
Girls Fitness Club.
Mhm.
And do you have any freebies for my audience?
So it's interesting that you asked that. In the spring, when we were first in lockdown, I looked at what I was going to do to be able to reach my participants in my fitness programming, and also to keep my own two girls fit and moving. They are very passionate about basketball and hockey. So I did 100 live free workouts over the
Wow.
course. Yes. Between March 13th all the way through until August. Even when I was away camping in the summer, we still broadcasted live and gave a lot of movement and a lot of different feedback for people. So if you go to my YouTube channel, which is Stacy Moore, and of course all of the Fly Girls, if you look for Fly Girls Fitness with Stacy Moore, you'll find that there are so many different workouts that I did over the course of that phase. It was actually picked up by MSN Spark Lifestyle in the United States and broadcast on their platform. I was interviewed on an Inspired by Sport platform here in Peterborough, and as well as Global News. So we've had a lot of different, interviews, perspectives on that, and all of that's there as far as that free opportunity. I always offer, one-on-one free coaching consultations if people are interested in just seeing, what I'm up to, or just learning a little bit more about their goals. So those are opportunities. I often have a 5-day abs and booty challenge, that type of thing within the Fly Girls program. So there's lots of ways that you can connect with the work that I'm doing. And then I do have, as you mentioned, at stacymoore.fit, the Fly Girls Fitness Club is a program. It is a paid subscription, but it's a small community. It's a group where we come together online in a group, and I do go live in there 5 days a week. I offer a whole variety of classes. You can do the classes at any type. Well, the workouts, you're basically working out with me.
Even for pregnant women?
Yeah, absolutely. I give a lot of modifications. So you can
Mhm.
be at any phase in your life, really. And it's really, like I mentioned, a matter of moving. So I do a different sort of theme every day. We have a mountain Monday, Tabata Tuesday, weights Wednesday, tone it up Thursday, and we do flexibility Friday with yogas to wrap up the week. So it's 20 different workouts a month. And
Wow.
yeah, there's lots of great stuff there. And then as well, of course, the nutritional piece and the coaching that I do with Isogenics, and the support of people, and as far as building community, and that support of positive connection
Mm.
is also there.
So I just want to add something here as I
Sure.
see your positive energy here, even
Mhm.
before pregnancy and after.
Mhm.
The first key is self-love, as you said.
Yes.
So you shouldn't think if I have PCOS or fertility issues, I should stop other exciting thing that I love. No,
Mm.
it's better. Even it's better for you because it distracts you from what your situation is.
Mhm.
So that's what I did. Like I distracted myself with the violin. I did journaling. So you have to customize your feeling to
Mhm.
see what can distract you from all the feelings, bad feelings that you have.
Yeah.
And all the time be productive because it really helps
Mhm.
to uh, to get pregnant. Because when you are productive, your body receive it, and
Mhm.
then you start producing a baby. But
Mhm.
when you are in a distress mode, and then you don't want to do anything, you are lazy and distressed,
Mhm.
then nothing gonna happen to you.
Yes.
All the stress coming and hormones, and you have lots of imbalances. And diet, as you
Yes.
said, is very important. Stress
Mhm.
management, diet, and have a great movement. As I said, for your pregnancy, you have to be careful, but
Mhm.
you should move all the time. Movement, even if it's a little walking, it's really recommended.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think all of those things are vital, and just for a healthy, vibrant life in general, whether you're trying to conceive, you're trying to balance life as a mom, or just in general for overall health and well-being, I think you want to incorporate all of those components that you just spoke about. I also would talk a little bit about hydration, making sure that you're getting enough water in your
Yes,
day, that you're getting enough sleep, right? All of those types of things, your mindset, it's all going to play a role in your ability to conceive and just to be happy and well in your life. That's what we want.
exactly.
Hmm.
All right, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed talking to you and learned so many things from you, especially for PCOS fighters. You don't need to fight too much. Just go and take the recommendation, get the great diet. And this is not the issue for infertility. There is no, there are lots of women out there have PCOS, endometriosis, and other fertility issues. But as I said, these are problems that can be
Yes,
solved. So you
yes,
should find a solution, be uh, on the move all the time, and have a great diet, less stress, and it's going to happen to you.
yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Stacy.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much.